My dear friends, please support me by clicking the subscribe button. Your support means so much to me. Let's grow this family together, one story at a time. Thank you so much. Once upon a time, in a quiet little village nestled between green hills and sparkling rivers, lived a cheerful young girl named Ada. Ada was just 12 years old, full of life and laughter. She lived with her father, Chief Uche, a kind and hard-working man respected by everyone in the village. Ada and her father had a simple but happy life. Their house was made of clay and wood, surrounded by colorful flowers and tall palm trees. Every morning, Ada would run outside to greet the rising sun, singing softly as she helped her father prepare breakfast. Life was peaceful and beautiful for Ada. But little did she know, everything was about to change. One hot afternoon, as the village was busy with its usual activities, a shiny car rolled slowly down the dusty road. The villagers stopped to watch. It was rare to see such a thing in their humble home. Inside the car sat a tall, elegant woman. She wore bright clothes and had a smile that seemed both warm and cold at the same time. This was Mrs. Neka, the new wife of Chief Uche. Ada had never met her before. She didn't know what to expect. The car stopped in front of their house. Chief Uche stepped out, wiping sweat from his brow. He looked happy but a little nervous. Mrs. Neka stepped down gracefully, holding a beautiful leather bag. She looked around, her eyes shining with pride. "Welcome, madam," some villagers called out politely. Ada watched quietly from behind a tree, feeling curious and a little unsure. That evening their family sat down to eat together for the first time. Mrs. Neka was charming. She smiled at Ada and said, "I am so happy to be part of your family, Ada. We will be very happy together." Ada smiled back, hoping this would be true. For a few days, everything seemed fine. Mrs. Neka was polite and kind to Ada. She even gave her a gift, a beautiful necklace made of tiny beads. Ada was excited. Maybe life would be even better now. But deep inside, Ada noticed something strange. Sometimes, when she looked at Mrs. Neka, the woman's smile would disappear for a moment, replaced by a cold, distant look. Ada overheard Mrs. Neka whispering to the housekeeper, "That girl must not take my place. I will make sure she knows her place." Ada's heart sank. Was Mrs. Neka really kind, or was she hiding something? That night, Ada lay awake, thinking about her new stepmother. The moonlight spilled through the window, casting shadows on the walls. She wished with all her heart that her family could stay happy and safe. But sometimes, wishes alone are not enough. The days after Mrs. Neka arrival felt different to Ada. Everything seemed calm and even a little happy. Mrs. Neka smiled and spoke gently, sometimes helping Ada with small chores around the house. Ada wanted to believe that this new stepmother would be kind and loving. But slowly, things began to change. It started with small things. Mrs. Neka stopped smiling at Ada as often. She would ignore her completely. Ada noticed how Mrs. Neka would watch her closely, almost like she was waiting for something to go wrong. Ada woke up early to sweep the front yard. The sun was just rising, and the birds were singing. Ada enjoyed the peaceful moments, humming a little tune. Suddenly, Mrs. Neka appeared at the doorway. Her eyes narrowed as she looked at the neat yard. "Why did you sweep so early?" Mrs. Neka asked, her voice cold. Ada blinked, surprised. "I thought it would be better to finish early so I could help more later." Mrs. Neka's lips curled into a thin smile. "You think you can decide what to do without asking me?" Ada's heart beat faster. "No, ma'am, I just wanted to help." Mrs. Neka shook her head. "From now on, you do only what I tell you, when I tell you. Is that clear?" Ada nodded quietly, feeling a little scared. Mrs. Neka started giving Ada many more chores. Some were hard and some seemed unfair. Ada had to fetch water from the far river, clean the whole house, cook meals, and even look after Mrs. Neka's 2 children from her previous marriage. What made Ada sadder was that she was no longer allowed to eat with her father and stepmother at the table. Instead, she had to eat her food alone, outside the house or in the kitchen's dark corner. Ada tried to tell her father about the new rules and how hard things had become. "Father," she said softly, "Mrs. Neka is making me do many chores, and I'm not allowed to eat with you anymore. It feels like she doesn't want me here." Chief Uche looked tired and worried. "Ada, your stepmother is trying to help us build a better home. You must be patient and listen to her." Ada's eyes filled with tears. "But father," she is cruel to me. Chief Uche sighed deeply. I understand, my child. But I must trust her. She is my wife. Ada felt alone. The man she loved most didn't seem to see the pain Mrs. Neka was causing. Mrs. Neka's coldness grew stronger. Ada accidentally spilled some water while carrying a heavy bucket. Mrs. Neka shouted at her loudly, making the whole village hear. You careless girl, how many times must I tell you to be careful? She yelled. Ada lowered her head, feeling ashamed and hurt. But inside, she held on to a small spark of hope that one day, things would get better. At night, when the house was quiet, Ada would look out the window at the shining stars. She would whisper to herself, please, someone help me. I want to be happy again. As the days went by, Mrs. Neka coldness turned into something much darker. Ada felt like a stranger in her own home. The laughter she once shared with her father was now replaced by silence and fear. One morning, the village was buzzing with excitement because the annual harvest festival was coming. Everyone was preparing for a big celebration, dressing up in bright clothes, singing, and dancing. Ada was thrilled. She loved the festival. It was a time when the whole village came together to share food, stories, and joy. She ran to her father. Father, can I go to the festival this year? Please. Chief Uche smiled. Of course, Ada. You deserve to enjoy the festival. But when Mrs. Neka heard this, her face darkened. No, she said sharply. Ada will stay home. She has too many chores. Ada's heart sank. But, madam, everyone is going to the festival. Mrs. Neka raised her voice. I said no. You will do as I say. Ada started crying, but she knew better than to argue. That evening, Mrs. Neka gave Ada a long list of chores to finish before sunrise the next day. If you don't finish, you won't eat, she warned. Ada worked late into the night, scrubbing floors, washing clothes, and preparing food. Her hands were sore, and her body was tired. She wished she could just run to the festival and dance with the others. At dawn, when the village was waking up with cheerful sounds, Ada was still working. Suddenly, Mrs. Neka stormed into the kitchen. You are slow. How dare you be tired when there is work to do? Ada looked down, too weak to answer. Mrs. Neka grabbed a small wooden stick from the table. You will learn to obey. She shouted, raising the stick. Ada closed her eyes, expecting pain. The first strike landed on her arm, then another. She cried wishing her father would hear her. But no one came. That was the first time Mrs. Neka hurt Ada. The pain was sharp, but worse than the physical hurt was the feeling of betrayal. How could someone who was supposed to be family treat her so badly? After the punishment, Mrs. Neka left the room, slamming the door behind her. Ada sat on the cold floor, tears streaming down her face. She touched her bruised arm and whispered, Why? Why me? That day, the harvest festival felt far away like a dream that Ada could no longer reach. After that painful day, Ada felt a heavy sadness inside her heart. The home she once loved had become a place of fear and sadness. She looked at her bruised arm in the mirror and whispered, I have to be strong. But deep down, she wondered why Mrs. Neka was so cruel. Was it because she didn't want Ada around? Or was there something else behind that cold smile? While Ada was sweeping the yard, she heard a soft voice from behind the kitchen door. Curious, she tiptoed closer and listened carefully. It was Mrs. Neka, speaking quietly to the housekeeper. She must be out of the way soon, Mrs. Neka said with a cold laugh. The house will be mine alone. Ada's heart pounded. What did she mean by that? She wanted to ask her father, but she was afraid. Every time she tried to talk about Mrs. Neka, he told her to be patient. That night, Ada could not sleep. The moonlight painted silver shadows across her room. She hugged her worn doll tightly and thought about how to protect herself. The next day, she decided to talk to her best friend, Chika, from the village. I don't understand my stepmother, Ada said, wiping tears. She smiles, but I feel like she hates me. Chika looked worried. Maybe she is jealous of you. Sometimes stepmothers feel that way. Ada nodded slowly. I want to make father see the truth, but I don't know how. Chika squeezed Ada's hand. You are brave, Ada. Just don't give up. For the first time in weeks, Ada smiled a little. She knew she had to be smart. If she could find out more about Mrs. Neka's plans, maybe she could stop the pain. But the house held many secrets and some were darker than Ada could imagine. Ada felt heavy, but the support from her best friend Chika brought a small light into her world. Every afternoon after chores, Ada would meet Chica under the big mango tree near the village square. As Ada sat on the soft grass, Chica leaned in and said quietly, "Ada, I know someone who might help you." Ada's eyes widened. "Who? Please tell me." Chica smiled mysteriously. "There is an old woman at the edge of the village. People say she knows many secrets. She can see things others don't." Ada felt a spark of hope. "Do you think she can help me with Mrs. Neka?" Chica nodded. "Maybe. But you must be careful. Mrs. Neka is powerful." That evening, Ada thought long and hard. Should she trust the old woman? Could she risk it? The next morning, before the sun was fully up, Ada quietly slipped out of the house. She walked carefully, her heart pounding, toward the village edge. There, in a small, thatched hut surrounded by herbs and flowers, lived Mama Ease, the village healer. Mama Ease was old but strong. Her eyes were sharp and kind. When Ada told her story, Mama Ease listened closely, nodding. "You are brave, child," Mama Ease said. "Sometimes, people hide their true nature behind smiles. But don't lose hope. There is power in kindness and truth." Mama Ease gave Ada a small pouch filled with herbs. "These will protect you. Use them when you feel afraid." Ada held the pouch tightly, feeling warmth spread inside her. On her way home, Ada felt a little stronger. She wasn't alone. But Mrs. Neka was watching. Later that day, Mrs. Neka noticed Ada's sudden confidence and frowned. "Where have you been?" she demanded. Ada looked her in the eye. "I was visiting Mama Ease." Mrs. Neka's eyes flashed with anger. "You must ask permission next time." Ada did not answer. She felt a new strength growing inside her. She knew she could fight back but carefully. After her visit to Mama Ease, Ada felt different. The fear that had wrapped around her like a heavy cloak was starting to lift, replaced by a quiet courage. Under the soft glow of a flickering candle, Ada sat with Chica and shared everything she had learned. "Mama Ease gave me these herbs," Ada said, holding out the small pouch. "She said they will protect me from harm." Chica's eyes sparkled. "That's good, but we need a plan." Ada nodded. "I cannot keep hiding. I have to find a way to make father see the truth about Mrs. Neka." Chica thought for a moment. "What if we gather proof? Something your stepmother can hide?" Ada smiled, hope filling her chest. "Yes. But how?" The two girls whispered ideas late into the night. They decided Ada would secretly watch Mrs. Neka and try to learn what she was planning. Over the next few days, Ada became quiet and observant. She watched Mrs. Neka's every move. Sometimes, the stepmother would talk to strange visitors in hushed voices. Other times, she would sneak out of the house late at night. One night, Ada followed Mrs. Neka to the edge of the village. From behind a tree, she heard Mrs. Neka speaking with a man in the dark. "I want the house and everything your father owns," Mrs. Neka said. "Ada is a problem. She must be gone." Ada's heart pounded. This was worse than she thought. She rushed back home, her mind racing. She had to tell her father, but how? The next morning, Ada tried to speak to Chief Uche. "Father, please listen," Ada began. "Mrs. Neka is planning to take everything and hurt me." But Chief Uche shook his head. "Ada, you must trust me. Mrs. Neka loves this family." Ada's frustration grew. How could he not see what she saw? Chica squeezed Ada's hand. "Don't give up. We will find a way." Ada knew the road ahead would be difficult. But with friends by her side and a secret plan in her heart, she was ready to fight for her family and for herself. But Ada's worries only grew. Mrs. Neka's cruel plans were becoming clearer and more dangerous. Ada was fetching water at the village well. She overheard two servants whispering near the market. "Have you heard? The madam plans to send the girl away," one said quietly. "She wants her far from the house. Maybe to an orphanage," the other replied. Ada's heart skipped a beat. She knew she could not let that happen. Rushing home, she told Chica everything. "They are planning to get rid of me." Chica's eyes widened. "We have to act fast." That night, Ada lay awake, clutching the pouch of herbs Mama Ease gave her. The house was silent, but danger was close. Suddenly, she heard footsteps outside her door. Her breath caught. "Who's there?" she whispered. No answer. Ada held the pouch tightly and prayed silently. The footsteps faded away. The next morning, Ada told her father again. "Please, father, Mrs. Neka wants to send me away. I'm scared." Chief Uche looked troubled. "I will speak to her," he promised. But Mrs. Neka was clever. She smiled sweetly to her husband, hiding the sharp plan beneath. That evening, she called Ada to the kitchen. Ada, you must pack your things, she said softly. You will go stay with your aunt in the next village. It is for your own good. Ada shook her head. No, I don't want to leave. Mrs. Neka's smile vanished. You will do as I say, or you will suffer the consequences. Ada knew this was just the beginning. With Chica and Mama Isa's help, she would fight no matter the danger. The moon hung high and full in the sky, casting a soft silver glow on the village. Ada's heart pounded like a drum in her chest. She sat on the edge of her small bed, staring at the plain walls of her room that once felt like home but now felt like a trap. Mrs. Neka's words echoed in her mind. You must pack your things. You will go stay with your aunt in the next village. It is for your own good. But Ada knew better. This aunt was just a place where Mrs. Neka wanted to send her far away, out of sight and out of mind. She glanced at the small pouch Mama Isa had given her filled with herbs for protection. Ada clutched it tightly, feeling a flicker of courage. Later that night, the village was quiet except for the soft chirping of crickets and the gentle rustle of palm leaves in the breeze. Ada crept to her window and slipped out carefully, landing on the ground. She wasn't alone. Chica was waiting under the big mango tree, a small bag slung over her shoulder. We have to leave now, Ada whispered, her voice trembling but determined. Chica nodded, her eyes shining with worry and hope. Mama Isa gave me food and water. She said we must be careful and move quickly. They moved silently through the dark paths between the huts. Ada's bare feet barely made a sound on the soft earth. Every crack of a twig or distant bark of a dog made her heart leap, but she kept going. Behind them, a shadow flickered by the doorway. Mrs. Neka. Ada dared not look back. She knew if she stopped, it would be the end of her freedom. After what felt like hours, the two girls arrived at the little hut at the edge of the village where Mama Isa lived. The old woman opened the door with a warm smile. You are safe here, Mama Isa said softly. But this is only the beginning. She wrapped Ada in a cloak that shimmered in the moonlight. This cloak will hide you from the eyes of those who wish you harm. Wear it well. Ada felt the fabric settle over her shoulders like a protective shield. Hope bloomed in her chest for the first time in weeks. Chica handed Ada the small bag of food and water. We can rest here a little before we plan our next move. Ada looked up at Mama Isa. I want to bring father back and stop Mrs. Neka. But how? Mama Isa's eyes twinkled. With patience, courage, and friends like you, Ada, nothing is impossible. As dawn began to paint the sky with soft pinks and oranges, Ada knew her life was about to change forever, but now, she was not alone. She had friends, protection, and a plan. Her journey to reclaim her family and her home had just begun. The first light of dawn spilled gently across the horizon, painting the sky with soft hues of pink and gold. Ada woke slowly in Mama Isa's humble hut, the magical cloak still wrapped warmly around her shoulders. For the first time in weeks, she felt a small spark of peace. Mama Isa was already awake, preparing a simple breakfast of yam and palm fruit. Eat, Ada, she urged kindly. You need strength for the days ahead. Ada smiled weakly but gratefully. She knew, she could not stay here forever. Her father was out there, somewhere, and Mrs. Neka's shadow loomed large over her family. Chica sat beside her, her eyes bright with hope. We will find a way, Ada. You are not alone. Outside the hut, the village was beginning to stir. Birds sang, and children's laughter echoed faintly in the distance. Ada breathed in the fresh morning air and made a quiet promise to herself. She would be strong. Over the next days, Mama Isa taught Ada how to use the herbs for protection and healing. She showed her how to read the signs of the forest and listen to the whispers of the wind. Ada learned quickly, her mind sharp despite the fear still lurking inside. One afternoon, while gathering firewood, Ada heard a familiar voice, a kind, gentle voice she hadn't heard in weeks. Ada, Ada, my daughter. She turned to see her father, Chief Uche, rushing toward her, eyes wide with relief. Father, Ada cried, running into his arms. Tears flowed freely as they held each other. I'm so sorry, Ada, he whispered. I didn't see what was happening. But now I know, and I'm here to protect you. Ada felt hope bloom like a bright flower inside her heart. Together, with Mama Isa and Chica by her side, she knew they could face anything, even Mrs. Neka's cruelty. Her new home was not just a hut at the edge of the village. It was the place where courage grew, and a family was ready to fight for love and justice. The reunion with her father filled Ada's heart with a powerful new hope. But she knew their fight was far from over. Mrs. Neka's shadow still hung over the family, and they needed a plan, one strong enough to protect them all. That evening, under the fading orange glow of the sunset, Ada, her father, Mama Ease, and Chica gathered around a small fire outside the hut. The flames danced, casting flickering shadows on their faces. "We must be smart," Chief Okoro said, his voice steady but serious. "Mrs. Neka has power and cunning. She will not give up easily." Mama Ease nodded. "Her cruelty comes from fear. If we show strength and unity, she will falter." Ada looked around at the faces of those who stood with her. For the first time, she felt the weight of their combined strength. Chica, always cheerful, grinned. "We have each other. That is more powerful than any fear." Over the next days, they worked quietly but determinedly. Ada helped Mama Ease prepare herbal remedies and protective charms. Chief Uche began talking to trusted villagers, gathering allies who had seen Mrs. Neka's harshness and wanted change. Ada trained her mind and body, learning to be brave even when she was scared. She practiced walking through the forest with steady steps, listening for signs of danger. One afternoon, as Ada rested by a stream, she looked up at the blue sky and whispered, "I will not let fear win. I will fight for my family and my home." Her journey was far from over, but with each passing day, Ada grew stronger, not just in body, but in heart and spirit. Days turned into weeks, and Ada's strength grew. She felt ready to stand up not just for herself but for everyone Mrs. Neka had hurt. The time had come to face the stepmother and show her that Ada was no longer a frightened girl. One morning, with the sun rising like a golden fire, Chief Uche, Ada, Chica, and a few trusted villagers walked toward the big family house. Their footsteps were steady, their faces calm but resolute. As they approached, Mrs. Neka stepped out onto the veranda, her eyes narrowing as she saw the small group. "So, the lost daughter returns," she sneered. "Have you come to beg for forgiveness?" Ada held her head high. "I have come to claim what is mine, my family, my home, and my father's love." Mrs. Neka laughed coldly. You are nothing. You will never take this from me." Chief Uche stepped forward, his voice firm. "Enough, Neka. Your lies and cruelty end today. The villagers have seen your true nature. You will no longer harm my daughter." The villagers murmured in agreement, their faces reflecting years of hidden pain and hope. Mrs. Neka's lips twitched, but she said nothing. For the first time, the power in her eyes faltered. Ada felt a surge of courage. She looked around and saw the support of her community, the love of her father, and the wisdom of Mama Ease shining through. This was only the beginning, but Ada knew one thing for sure: she was not alone, and she was ready to fight for her family's happiness. After the tense confrontation, the village buzzed with whispers. Ada's courage had sparked something powerful. Hope was stirring where fear had once ruled. But Mrs. Neka was not defeated yet. Behind closed doors, she schemed, desperate to keep control. She gathered her few loyal servants and plotted ways to twist the truth and turn the villagers against Ada and her father. Meanwhile, Ada and Chief Uche sat with Mama Ease and Chica in the quiet of the hut. They knew the only way to truly win was to reveal the secrets Mrs. Neka had hidden for years. Ada's eyes shone with determination. "Father, there is more you must know. Things she told me. Lies to break us apart." Chief Uche nodded. "I have felt her hand in everything, but I didn't see the full darkness until now." Mama Ease leaned forward, her voice steady. "Secrets like these have power only until they are brought to light. We must find proof, so the village can see the truth clearly." Together, they began piecing together stories from villagers who had suffered quietly, stories of stolen land, of lies told to elders, of kindness twisted into cruelty. An old man approached them with a dusty box. "I have kept this for many years," he said, handing over old letters and documents showing Mrs. Neka's deceit and greed. Ada's heart raced. This was the key. With proof in hand, Ada and her allies planned a gathering to share the truth with the whole village. It would be a turning point, a moment when darkness would meet the light. Word spread fast through the village. A meeting was called at the central square to address the troubling secrets about Mrs. Neka. Curiosity and tension hung thick in the air as villagers gathered, their whispers growing louder. Ada stood beside her father, Mama Ease, and Chica. In her hand, she held the old letters and documents, the proof of Mrs. Neka's lies and cruelty. The village chief called the meeting to order. "We are here to listen and seek the truth," he announced, his voice strong but calm. Ada took a deep breath and stepped forward. People of the village, I have come with proof of the pain Mrs. Neka has caused not just to me, but to many of you. She has stolen land, spread lies, and hurt those who trusted her. She showed the documents, reading aloud some of the words that revealed the stepmother's betrayals. Murmurs turned into gasps. Villagers looked at each other, some nodding in recognition, others shocked. One by one, people came forward to share their stories, stories of unfair treatment, broken promises, and silent suffering. Mrs. Neka stood to defend herself, her voice shaking but angry. These are lies. You are all fools to believe her. But the village chief raised his hand, silencing her. We will decide with fairness and truth. After hours of discussion, the villagers voted. The verdict was clear: Mrs. Neka would no longer hold power in the family or the village. Ada's heart swelled with relief and hope. The road ahead would be hard, but she believed they could build a future free from fear. After the village meeting, a new calm settled over the community. The air felt lighter, as if the heavy clouds of fear and doubt had finally parted. Ada woke that morning with a spark of hope she hadn't felt in years. Chief Uche smiled warmly as he greeted her. Today marks a fresh start for all of us, he said. We will rebuild what was broken together. Ada looked around their humble home. The walls that once felt cold and unwelcoming now seemed filled with possibility. Mama Ease was already busy cooking, humming a soft tune, and Chica helped prepare the courtyard. The villagers, now united, began working side by side. Old wounds were slowly healing as neighbors mended fences, replanted farms, and shared food. The children played freely, laughter echoing through the fields. Mrs. Neka, stripped of her power, was seen less and less. Some said she had left the village, others whispered she stayed in silence, a shadow of the past. Ada felt the weight of responsibility but also the joy of renewal. She spent her days helping the village heal and her nights dreaming of the future. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low, Chief Okoro gathered the villagers again. Let us celebrate the courage that brought us here, he declared, and the hope that will carry us forward. That evening, music and dance filled the village square. Fires blazed bright, and stories were shared under the stars. Ada danced with Chica, feeling the warmth of friendship and family surround her. She believed that kindness and love could conquer even the darkest times. After the joyful celebration, the village awoke to a different kind of energy. A large cloud of dust approached from the east, carried by the hooves of a well-fed brown horse. A tall stranger sat on its back, his long black coat flowing behind him, and a wide-brimmed hat casting a shadow over his face. Villagers stepped back and whispered. It had been a long time since someone so polished and wealthy had ridden into their village. He stopped at the square and dismounted gracefully. Good day to you all, he said, his voice deep and controlled. I am Mr. Bello, a trader from Oak Town. I've heard of your village's beauty and strength. I come with business offers and, perhaps a few warnings. Chief Uche stepped forward. You're welcome, Mr. Bello. But we protect our peace here. We are just recovering from pain. What is this warning you bring? Mr. Bello smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Progress is knocking on your door. My people are building a big market and a new road just a few miles away. We will need this land soon, especially those near the farmlands. If we work together, you'll benefit from it. But if not, he shrugged casually. There will be challenges. Gasps filled the air. Ada's eyes narrowed. She saw it immediately. This man didn't just want trade. He wanted power, influence, control. We are just found peace, she spoke boldly. And now you want to take our land. Mr. Bello chuckled. Young lady, I offer opportunity, not war. But peace must be paid for with land, or with partnership. Later that evening, as the village gathered to discuss the stranger's offer, tension filled the air. The elders debated. Some were tempted by the promise of money and trade, while others feared losing their heritage. And just as the meeting ended, a small boy ran into the square, breathless. The goats. They are missing. In my father's yam barn everything is scattered. Something is happening near the forest. The crowd turned toward the forest edge. Darkness had already fallen, and an eerie silence blanketed the trees. Chica whispered to Ada, what if this is not just a coincidence? What if Mr. Bello's arrival brought more than business? Ada looked at the forest, her heart pounding. She had faced evil before, but this felt different. Deeper. hidden in plain sight. The challenge ahead was no longer just about land or trade. Something darker was coming. The night sky was quiet, too quiet. No crickets chirped, no frogs croaked. Even the dogs, who usually barked at shadows, stayed silent. The villagers sensed something was wrong, but no one had the courage to say it out loud. Ada sat outside their small hut, staring at the dark silhouette of the forest. Chica joined her, holding a cup of warm pap. "Can you feel it?" she asked softly. Chica nodded. "The air feels like it is watching us." Mama Ease stepped out of the hut with a wrapper wrapped tightly around her chest. Her eyes were sharp with memory. "My mother once told me that this forest was not just full of trees," she said. "It breathes. It listens. It remembers those who disturb its rest." Ada turned. "Do you think it's awake now?" Mama Ease did not answer immediately. "The land speaks in silence. And lately, it has been shouting." By morning, the entire village was buzzing. 3 goats were found with eyes wide open but stiff and lifeless. Their bodies showed no wounds. No blood. Just stillness. The owners screamed in fear. An old hunter named Baba Naduka ran into the village square, sweating and panting. "I saw them," he cried. "Eyes in the trees. Glowing red, watching me." From the shadows, he collapsed before anyone could stop him. People gathered. Murmurs flew. Mothers held their children tighter. The younger men, who had once supported Mr. Bello's plans, began to doubt. At noon, Chief Okoro called a meeting under the great Iroko tree. "We have always respected this forest," he began. "It has protected our crops, given us herbs and shelter. But now, something inside it is angry." Mr. Bello arrived late to the meeting, wearing a polished red scarf and shiny shoes. He stepped forward with a confident smile. "Chief Uche, good people of this village," he began, "this is just superstition. You cannot grow if you fear old tales and shadows." Ada stood up boldly. "Then why are our animals dying? Why are the hunters running from trees?" Mr. Bello's smile wavered for a second, but he quickly regained his charm. "Coincidences," he said. "Nature is wild. That is all." But his words did not soothe the people. Something about his calmness made it worse. That night, a sound came from the forest. A deep, slow hum that turned into a whispering chant. The trees swayed though there was no wind. Flames in cooking fires danced unnaturally, casting tall, strange shadows on the walls. And then came the voice. Not a human voice. Not one they could explain. It was deep and soft, like 10 winds speaking at once. "You opened the gate. Now face what sleeps within." People froze. Children screamed. Mama Ease began praying out loud. Ada clutched her chest. "It is real," she whispered. "The forest is alive." Strange footprints were found at the edge of the village, long, twisted, with 3 sharp toes, like a creature that did not belong to this world. The villagers knew then the forest had woken. And it was angry. But was Mr. Bello the reason? Ada was determined to find out. Mothers kept their children close. Fathers sharpened cutlasses they hadn't used in years. Drums stayed silent. No laughter came from the huts. The whispering forest stood like a giant in the dark, watching, breathing, waiting. Ada couldn't rest either. Her mind was busy. Who is Mr. Bello really? What does he want with our land? Why is the forest angry? She remembered something Mama Ease once told her. Everything that has happened before is written somewhere. You just need to know where to look. So Ada went to Mama Ease's hut the next morning. "Mama," she said, "you told me your mother knew the forest. Did she ever write anything down?" Mama Ease looked surprised, then slowly walked to an old clay pot in the corner. She removed the lid and reached inside, bringing out a small, tightly wrapped scroll made of old palm leaves. She called this the record of the spirits, Mama Ease said. "But I have not opened it since I was a girl." Ada gently unwrapped the scroll. The writing was old and shaky, but the meaning was clear. The scroll told the story of a greedy white man who once came to their village, promising riches and new things. But when he dug into the heart of the forest, spirits rose in anger and swallowed his workers. Only he escaped, mad and screaming. Chica, who had followed Ada, whispered, "This sounds like Mr. Bello's plan all over again." "Exactly," Ada said. "He doing the same thing the man in the scroll did." Mama Ease nodded. "Then we must stop him before it is too late." Later that day, Mr. Bello returned with 2 bulldozers and a group of strangers in dark glasses. He called it Phase 1 of the development. Villagers gathered, confused and scared. Ada stepped forward again. "We know the truth now," she shouted. We've read the scroll. You're repeating a curse that already happened. Mr. Bello laughed. Curses? Scrolls? My dear girl, those are just bedtime stories. Just then, a loud cracking sound came from the forest. Crack. The ground shook. Birds flew out screaming. One of the bulldozers suddenly sank halfway into the earth as if the soil was water. The strangers ran. Mr. Bello's face lost all color. Then a voice echoed again from the trees. You were warned, yet you return. People screamed and scattered. Even Chief Akoro ran. But Ada stood still. We have to do something, she said to Mama Ease. Before the spirits destroy us all. Mama Ease looked her in the eyes. Then you must go to the sacred tree. Alone. Ada's heart raced. Alone? Yes, Mama Ease said. That tree is the only place where the spirits listen. But it must be someone with a pure heart. Ada looked at the burning bulldozer, the running villagers, and the dark forest. The sun had already started to go down when Ada tied her wrapper tight and picked up a calabash filled with palm oil, cola nut, and white cloth, things Mama Ease told her the spirits would accept as gifts. She stood at the edge of the forest, staring into the darkness. Are you sure about this? Chica asked, standing beside her. Ada nodded. If I don't go, the spirits will keep attacking the village. This is the only way. Mama Ease held her hand. Remember, don't speak unless the tree speaks first. Don't take anything from the ground. And whatever you do, don't look back. The villagers watched in silence as Ada stepped into the whispering forest. The moment her foot touched the leaf-covered path, the air changed. The forest felt alive, like it was breathing. Trees rustled though there was no wind. Strange bird calls echoed through the branches. She held the calabash tightly and walked deeper in. Minutes felt like hours. Suddenly, the path opened into a round clearing. In the middle stood the sacred tree, taller than any tree Ada had ever seen. Its bark was dark like night, and its roots curled around the earth like giant snakes. The tree's leaves shimmered, even though there was no sun. Ada walked slowly to the base of the tree and knelt down. She placed the calabash gently on the ground and bowed her head. Then silence. She waited, and waited. Just when fear started creeping into her heart, a deep voice came, not from around her, but from inside her mind. Child of the soil, why have you come? Ada's lips trembled. She spoke softly, with respect. The forest is angry. Our people are in danger. I came to beg for mercy. The tree responded. Your land was sold with blood and lies. The man you call Bello carries a curse from his ancestors. His greed has awoken the forgotten ones. Ada closed her eyes. Please, how do we stop them? A long silence followed. Then the voice spoke again. The one who opened the gate must close it, or be taken. What gate? She asked. But the tree did not answer. Instead, one leaf floated down and landed in her hand. It turned into a small piece of white cloth. She heard the voice once more. Wrap this around the cursed one's hand. Then bring him here. The forest will decide his fate. The tree fell silent. Ada stood up slowly. She felt weak, but something inside her was strong hope. She turned and began to walk back, her fingers wrapped tightly around the cloth. Ada came out of the forest just as the last bit of sun disappeared. The villagers, who had been waiting and praying, gasped when they saw her. She came back. She's alive. Mama Ease rushed forward. Did the tree speak? Ada nodded slowly. Yes, it gave me this. She opened her palm to show the small white cloth. It shone faintly under the moonlight. What does it mean? Chica asked. Ada took a deep breath. We have to wrap this around Mr. Bello's hand. Then take him to the sacred tree. The forest will decide what to do with him. Chief Uche stepped forward, his voice full of fear. That man will never go near the forest. He's already calling for police backup. He wants to burn down everything and start digging tomorrow morning. We can't let that happen, Ada said firmly. That night, a quiet plan was made. By morning, Mr. Bello and his men were loading trucks and giving loud orders. His voice echoed through the village. Everyone out. This land belongs to me now. Ada and Chica walked up to him calmly, while Mama Ease watched from a distance. Ada held the white cloth, hiding it behind her back. Mr. Bello, she said sweetly, we came to say sorry for disturbing your project. He raised an eyebrow. Oh, finally coming to your senses. She smiled. Yes, I even brought you a gift from the village elders. They said it will protect you from any forest spirits. He laughed. Finally, some respect. She quickly reached out and wrapped the cloth around his right hand. The moment it touched his skin, he froze. His eyes turned wide. His knees shook. What? What did you do to me? The ground under him rumbled slightly. People started shouting. Then the same deep voice from the forest echoed across the land. You opened the gate. Now return to the tree. Mr. Bello screamed. No, no, I didn't mean to. But his legs began to move on their own, dragging him toward the forest path. His guards ran, leaving him behind. Chica whispered, "It is working." Villagers stood back, watching in silence as Mr. Bello was pulled towards the sacred tree. Ada and Chica followed him, slowly and bravely. When they reached the clearing, the sacred tree glowed brighter than before. Mr. Bello fell to his knees, shaking. I'm sorry, I was only trying to build a new city. The tree's voice boomed again. You were warned. You ignored the blood. Now choose return the land, or return your soul. Mr. Bello begged, cried, and shouted. But the tree was silent now. Suddenly, a second white cloth floated down and landed on the ground beside him. Ada picked it up and gave it to him. Choose, she said. With trembling fingers, Mr. Bello took off his gold ring and buried it in the soil. Then he placed both white cloths over his eyes. The wind blew gently. The leaves shimmered. Then silence. The cloths floated away and Mr. Bello was gone. No body. No sound. Just peace. After Mr. Bello disappeared inside the sacred tree, everything became quiet. The forest that had once felt angry now felt calm and cool. Birds began to sing again, and the wind whispered peacefully through the leaves. Ada stood there for a moment, holding her breath. Chica touched her shoulder. You did it. It's over. Mama Ease smiled and nodded. The land is free again. They all walked back to the village together, feeling like heroes. As they entered the village, people came out of their houses, cheering and clapping. Some knelt to thank Ada. Others hugged her tightly. You saved us. You are our blessing. Even the chief, Chief Okoro, came forward and removed his cap to bow his head. From today, we will listen to the voice of the land. Ada, you are a true daughter of the soil. Tears rolled down Ada's cheeks, not because she was sad, but because she was proud. She had faced a powerful man, entered a haunted forest, and survived the sacred tree. The land that Mr. Bello wanted to destroy was returned to the villagers. They decided not to build houses or roads on it. Instead, they planted trees and built a small shrine beside the forest to honor the spirits in the sacred tree. Mama Ease stood before the villagers and declared, let this place remain sacred. May no one ever sell what is holy again. Ada became well known across the land. People came from other villages to greet her and hear her story. She remained humble and always said, Elle only did what was right. Her stepmother, who had once treated her badly, tried to come back to the village quietly. But Ada saw her and smiled kindly. I forgive you, she said. But you must also ask for forgiveness from the land. The woman broke down. In tears, she knelt and begged everyone she had hurt, including Ada. From that day on, the village became more united. People helped each other more. The poor were fed. The sick were cared for. No one was left behind again. And Ada, she opened a small school under a tree and taught children about truth, kindness, and the importance of respecting the land. Ada grew older and had her own children. She would walk with them to the edge of the forest. She would show them the sacred tree from afar and say, this tree saved our lives. And all I had to do was believe. And that is the story of Ada and the wicked stepmother. A story of pain, a story of courage, a story of a young girl who rose from rejection to become a light in her village. In a world where the innocent suffer and the greedy rise fast. Let this remind us that truth always wins, that kindness is never wasted, and that the land, yes, the land remembers everything. The end. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please, my best friends, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful village stories like this.